Hello and welcome to the CPA Consultants Alliance video series on important issues currently facing the accounting profession. Our panel in this segment will be addressing flexible workspaces. My name is Terry Putney. I'm the CEO of Transition Advisors and a member of the CPA Consultants Alliance. I'll be the moderator for this session. Our panel members today are Jeff Phillips, who's the CEO of AccountingFly, Tamera Loerzel, who's a partner of ConvergenceCoaching, and Rita Keller, who's the founder of Keller Consulting. The CPA Consultants Alliance members are leading national professionals that provide practice management consulting to the accounting profession. Our mission is to explore the leading issues facing the profession. We strive to develop and share solutions that benefit practitioners. Our members are committed to making a difference in the communities we serve. So now, let's get started. Jeff, why should CPA firms embrace becoming remote workplaces now?
Thanks, Terry. So we have a saying around here that the race for talent is over and that the talent has won. And that's important because it's time to realize that the workforce is changing. We live in an incredible time of rapid change. People want to work anywhere. They want to work anytime that they want to and really from any location. So what CPAs are looking for is flexibility and is work-life balance more than ever before. I can tell you that there's demand for this as well. You know, on AccountingFly, if you were to post a job that offered remote or work from home, you're going to get 8 times the applicants that you would otherwise. Offering workplace flexibility in remote workplaces increases your retention because it decreases the overwork issues that your staff is facing. You're going to be seen as a progressive employer, which the CPAs who are looking for this are absolutely looking for. And what I love about it, Terry, is that the geographic constraints are not an issue anymore in recruiting and retaining, and that means you're opening up to a much larger audience of talent than ever before. So we love it too because it kills the commute time. And just think about how many hours you get back from your staff when they're not doing commutes, especially if you're in large metro areas. So, Terry, that's just the tip of the iceberg, but that's a start.
Rita, do you have anything you'd like to add to that?
Just a few comments, Terry. I definitely agree with what Jeff has said. And of course, I look at this that, things have changed recently, but a lot of firms, have been flexible. That flexible term came up 30 years ago. At our firm, our first flexible person was in 1986. And that's what opened our eyes to the possibilities at our firm. So some firms are still lagging very far behind. And it won't carry them into the future is the most important point I want to make to confirm what Jeff said. It is work anywhere, any place, anytime. And we just need to get our arms around that and go forward. Don't look back.
Tamera, let's define this further. What do you mean by offering a remote workplace?
That is a great question, Terry. And I think I want to start by echoing what Rita just said. In our annual Anytime, Anywhere Work survey, where we survey nearly 200 CPA firms, we find exactly what Rita just pointed to. 97% say we offer some sort of flex. However, when we probe into it, it is limited. And we're still not where we need to be when we look at all the options within flex. Firms may have a part-time worker, or they might have remote capability for people to log in sometimes from home. But we want to expand remote and say it's a truly remote worker that might work in a different state from where you are, or that we have really flexible hours and that we can declare our hours, both how many we're working and the time that we're working. As well as the option to, work from home as needed and really have the driving factor or motivator for young people in the surveys that we've been reading and that we conduct ourselves is having control of when and where they work. That's where the anytime, anywhere work is coming from. It's not just this entitlement that, sometimes we can have this view of, but it's really how can I have more control, minimize those commutes that Jeff pointed to, And how can the firm benefit? Because we'll get more time, we'll have more motivated employees, we'll also have great talent because we don't have the geographic constraints. We have a firm that was a remote worker for 2 years. Her husband was a missionary down in Ecuador. She was an audit manager, and they were transparent with their clients. The clients are like, yes, please leave her on our audits. She worked for 2 years from Ecuador, then moved back home. Or if a really good employee is leaving, we'd say, please do not lose them because they are moving out of your local marketplace. How can we figure out to craft a job with our technology that we have today, the access to client information, our communication tools that we'll talk about a little later. We can figure out how to really have virtual, remote, and flexible work environments. Terry.
Jeff, anything you want to add to that?
Well, I think Tamera nailed it, but I would just add that you're going to get the production you need if you give people control of their time, control and ownership of where they work and when they work. And you say to them, here's the work that needs to get done. Here's the schedule. And we're getting to the point where the rest of it really doesn't matter. And it all goes back to why. This is what the workforce is demanding from you. So it's not, we're in a situation where you're leading edge if you're doing these kinds of things. This is what the middle of the bell curve needs to be operating under right now.
Tamera, one of the things that really interests me, being in the business I'm in of consulting with CPA firms, is what do you think the biggest resistance is from CPA firm leaders to this concept?
I think we could do a whole podcast on that, Terry. The list, I think, let's just say, starts from fear of the unknown. It's not the way current firm leaders today have operated. And also, if we really get honest, part of the fear is making sure we have some of our non-negotiables in firms addressed, like client service, like the quality of our work, like accessibility and responsiveness. Those are non-negotiable. When we define those and put those out front, then we say, now, how do we make flexible and remote work environments successful? We have a framework of what we're trying to achieve. And so that's the first step in the resistance, is to acknowledge, what are we worried about? And then behind that is we do have to then be willing to change top down some of our old norms. FaceTime, if you're not here, you're not working, is an adage that you probably hear. Or if I can't walk out my office door and grab Jeff because he's sitting outside my office door, then, if Jeff's not there, he must not be accessible to me. And so that, starts to impact, our requirement for FaceTime, and we have to work differently to communicate and know that people are there. We also have to support our flex schedules. So another thing that we've been working with firm leaders on to support the changes that are required is to distinguish sludge that is occurring. And we learned about sludge from the authors of the book Work Sucks. And they talk about a result-only work environment that Jeff was pointing to. We need to start measuring differently. And that also requires that we can't make derogatory comments to people that are on alternative work schedules or working remotely. Things like somebody has a 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. work schedule. They come in at 10 a.m. and I say to them, did you get your beauty sleep this morning? Or somebody comes in and requests that they work remotely on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And we say, well, what's the real business reason you need to do that? That kind of commentary undermines anything that we say that we have available for flexibility in our firms. And so those are some of the areas, Terry, that we see resistance and some ideas about how to begin to address them.
Rita, what about you? What have you found is the resistance you're running into with CPA firm leaders?
Terry, I do agree with Tamera. I call it that partners expect butts in seats. They don't think they can function unless they see people sitting there in that seat, and then they know they're working. And that is starting to change. I'm seeing partners become more open about that and more tolerant of that, and not expecting everyone to work the same hours they do, the exact same hours. Training is a big issue. How do we train people if they're remote? And that a lot of firms, my clients, they foot the bill. They bring the remote person in, even if they live in California and the firm's in Atlanta. They bring them in for a week or a week and a half, and then just, for basic training and to get to know people. And don't be afraid to invest in that training. And then training's easy to do with the technology tools we have now, with tools like we're using today. So that's one of the biggest resistance. And another one is people have to earn this. We can't just let new people do that. I hear a lot of resistance with that from firms. And I say, just take a step. Let one of your more experienced people, let them try it. And then if that works, then you can open it up more. Because I think in any big change like this with CPA firms, you have to take baby steps. So try it, test it, keep going, and it'll work for you.
Mm-hmm. Rita, that was a great segue into our last question here. What processes need to change to be a successful remote CPA firm, and what specific tools do you recommend a firm use?
Well, Terry, processes is a big topic. It's a big issue. Great question. If you're struggling with processes and procedures in becoming a remote workforce, or if you're struggling with any process within your firm, just remember to ask your team. Ask for their advice and their ideas. And don't forget your admin team. I find admin people have a lot of insight into what can really make the work flow more efficiently, more effectively through the office. And if you're a member of the CPA Firm Management Association, they have a discussion board, and you can learn from other firms who went through this process before. So that is always a good tool. Scheduling is another process that probably needs to be updated. I hear that from many firms. Using scheduling software does help. There's a lot of good ones out there. Even if you use a shared worksheet, some tool where everybody can see everything at the same time. When it comes to team meetings, I hear practitioners tell me, well, how will these remote people know what we're doing? Remote people can tune in to team meetings using technology. We had 3 offices at our firm, and every Monday we all attended the Monday briefing at the same time. So it can be done using the great technology that we have out there. Workflow is another process. Document management system or a workflow software, embrace one of those, and again, sharing information so everyone knows where everything is. That's what really is the foundation for a remote firm, where people can come in and use the same tools across no matter where they're sitting. How you hire is another process. That might have to change. I really believe that you should investigate your applicants. Make sure that they have the right attitude and technology skills that fit into your firm. One of my clients has a fairly elaborate interviewing system where people from all levels in the firm interview the candidates, including admin people, to see if they really are able and willing to work in a digital environment, a completely paperless digital environment, and that they also have the work ethic that meets the firm's expectations. So a lot of these things I mentioned, we should be doing anyway, whether we're a digital firm or not. So it's good practices for any firm.
Tamera, anything you'd like to add to that?
Yeah, I think to complement what Rita just shared, some of the things that we see firms kind of overlook is we refer to digital, being in a digital environment in IT and all these applications and using Zoom like we're using today, and scheduling assistance and chat and Skype for Business, and the list goes on. However, we need to back up and make sure our IT department is ready to support all of that. So I have people that are going to be calling about their home setup, or they're going to be calling about their remote setup at the client's office, or they're using systems or tools that weren't necessarily provided by the firm, and what's the security related to that. And so we need to make sure that our IT structure is sufficient to be able to support this kind of remote digital environment that Rita was describing. The other thing is to provide some guidelines. We prefer not to say a policy, but to have some kind of guidelines for working remotely, and what are the expectations for the technology setup, who's paying for it, what's expected for you to have at home, or if you're working in different environments, but also expectations around accessibility, responsiveness, both internally to team members as well as clients. team meetings, that we do expect you to show up to that Monday meeting that Rita was talking about, that because I'm virtual doesn't leave me as an excuse. That accounting manager that was in Ecuador, she would dial in. She came to one of our training sessions that we did. She dialed in and, she was completely available in the room. Several people were in that firm, and it's just expected. It's how they work. And so having some guidelines and expectations laid out, I think will help support the success of a remote and flexible environment.
Thank you, panelists. Excellent comments. Very interesting. We encourage you, the listener, to provide us feedback and submit any questions you have by visiting our website, www.thecpaconsultantsalliance.com. While there, you may access resources provided by these panelists by registering with us. Registering will also allow you to receive our quarterly newsletters and blogs and download white papers we have produced. We encourage you to follow us on Twitter at the CPACA. Also in 2016, we published the book, Bridging the Gap, Strengthening the Connection Between Current and Emerging Leaders in the CPA Profession. It can be purchased on Amazon. Thank you for attending this segment of the CPA Consultants Alliance video series.